When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous. Woke up feeling dangerous. Woke up feeling dangerous. Okay. Woke up feeling dangerous. Woke up feeling dangerous.
So welcome to Brown Town. I am here with Coat, yours truly, Troy. We are looking at Browns offseason right now. There is a lot of things in the headlines that we need to dig into, but maybe just a couple to start, right? Like, Hue Jackson put out this, well, he hasn't dropped the book yet, but he's making some claimers here, and I would love to make a little discussion out of this. What do you think of Hue Jackson coming out blaming Haslam for all of his troubles?
Well, this is the subject. I don't think you even wanted to touch this, truly. This is what I wanted to talk about real quick because, like, it's been everywhere, and it's like I see every fucking side. Number one, though, Hue Jackson, you got to remember back in 2014, what the fuck was he expecting? You know what I'm saying? And I like Hue, and I'll get to that in a second, but I don't know what he was expecting. If you remember 2014, we had just fired our head coach, obviously. That's why he got there. Our quarterback situation at the time was fucking god-awful. We had the Johnny Manziel experience fucking go down in a burning bag of flames and bust after bust in draft picks. So, like, pretty much the only option at that time was a fucking teardown. Fucking team. And as much as I hate Jimmy Haslam, I also love him for that because he's our fucking idiot. You know what I mean? You got to accept. You got to take the freaking negatives and the positives. But I don't know. Like as far as his whole ordeal, like number one, he needs to let it go. If he's trying to get back in the league, this is not the way to get back in the league. I've never seen a former head coach do anything like this. And
well, let me start off by addressing some of the things you've already said. You know how I feel about Haslam. And I would say, okay, so for anybody tuning into this, I absolutely hate Jimmy Haslam. I absolutely hate Jimmy Haslam. And I don't think that that's like common within Browns fans. Like, I don't think anybody really blames Haslam for anything. And to be perfectly clear, I'm not blaming Jimmy Haslam for who he is, right? Like, I just simply don't like a system that has a whole bunch of billionaires controlling everything about these teams that we absolutely love. And then reaching out to our communities, like asking for us to pay for their stadiums to make billions of dollars more. And so for me, like, that hate for Haslam isn't necessarily Jimmy Haslam. It's all these owners. Like, I've told you over and over again. I
was about to ask. I was like, can you tell me an owner you do like?
Yeah, I've told you over and over a system that I love is Green Bay is doing. Green Bay has it right. Like, I love the way it's set up in Green Bay. It's heartwarming. It makes sense. Like, our communities should absolutely own our teams. I feel like it not only provides revenue for different programs that we have in our cities, but I think it also just gives you like even more of a voice in a team, right? Like, I love how, the most complicated team to run is the Green Bay Packers. And yet you almost
I don't even know how it works, to be quite honest with you. And I know that's a totally different show and all that, but yeah.
And so you almost want it to be complicated because you love this sport so much. You want people paying attention to every little thing. And I feel like when you have one owner controlling everything, there's a lot of things missed. But anyway, my communist tendencies aside, let's come back to Hue Jackson, because let me just say, when we first got Hue, I had a whole lot of hope. And that's not always true. Like, we had a span there where we were getting, one guy after another. And I didn't have a whole lot of faith in guys like Eric Mangini. I just
Oh,
didn't.
I hated that signing.
Yeah, there's quite a few coaches I can look back at. I really liked Butch. I loved Butch Davis. I loved Romeo Crennel. And I was expecting to feel the same way when Hue came along. And what I liked about Hue was he was personable, man. He seemed like a guy that I could hang out with. He seemed kind. He seemed
He
like
still
thoughtful.
does. He still does.
Yeah, yeah. And so when he came out these past couple weeks and really like threw our Cleveland Browns under the bus, I don't know, man, like it felt strange. Like I didn't want to believe that Hue Jackson was, I don't know, I guess like self-promoting by throwing us under the bus. And so this one hurt me a little bit. And I think maybe the reason why I didn't want to have this conversation is because of that. Like I wasn't sure how I felt about it all yet.
So he disappointed you.
Yeah, it was
You
a
got
huge.
a Troy disappointment. Those are the worst.
Yeah, man. I feel like that's true. Like I feel disappointed by Hugh Jackson for sure.
No, with Hugh, I was pumped about that signing, and I thought he was the right guy. But I also foresaw maybe not quite as bad. I knew it was going to be at least a 2-year freaking overhaul until we could get to some decent football. That's what I didn't understand. Like, you're the head coach, and I'm sure whatever the owner and front office is saying, hey, we're going to win games. Of course. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody's going in and be like, look, we're going to suck balls the first 2 years. You know what I mean? You're going to be terrible. What I just don't get is like how he didn't see it. You know, like I was not really shocked at all with the end result. I didn't maybe see freaking 0-16, but 1-15 I was not shocked with his first year. I really wasn't. It wasn't his. I won't put the 1-31 record 100% on Hue Jackson. I don't think really anybody did either. You know what I mean? Everybody knew we were a freaking dumpster fire. But here's the thing too, though. Like, when we had Mike Pettin his second year, that was my lowest point of being a Browns fan, because you knew, not even midway, probably like 4 games into that season, that we were going not even for a rebuild, but like, oh fuck, dude, they're gonna fucking clean fucking house, because there was just too many draft busts, there was too many misses, there was just fucking crazy dysfunction amongst the whole thing, and you just knew this was gonna be a fucking real. So I like checked out mid-season of that year. And when we got Hugh, number one, I was surprised because he was a high priority coach, and I figured there was no way any high priority coach was going to come, even give us an interview, let alone take the job, you know?
Yeah.
And, but like, I don't think he was fired for 1-31, like he freaking harps on. I think he was fired for 2-5-1.
Yeah.
Because he started, like, him hiring Todd Haley as offensive coordinator, you knew right off the bat. Like, I remember when we hired Todd Haley, I figured, well, this is probably going to be the guy that's going to be our next head coach, you know? And they didn't mesh at all. If you watched freaking Hard Knocks, it was all bad. And, yeah, like it wasn't good. I just don't get why he's so keen on being stuck on this, because I could speak from experience in a different matter. It's like a divorce, you know what I'm saying? And you're never going to get the explanation you fucking want. You know what I'm saying? You got to just let that shit go. All the freaking hurt feelings, the feeling wronged, all that stuff. You're never going to get that phone call and told, hey, I'm sorry, this is why this happened, and blah, blah, blah. You're never going to get that closure. The only way you're going to get closure is by fucking moving the fuck on. And that's exactly what he needs to do. But with that said, I am going to read the living shit out of that book.
Yeah, I will too. I would say, for me, what really like made me lose hope with Hue Jackson was that Todd Haley signing, and only because of the consequences of it, right? Like, our team now was infighting, and the last thing we needed to do at a time when we were rebuilding this franchise again was infighting, right? And Todd Haley, I felt like could have taken our offense to new heights, could have like really helped a lot of young guys mesh and learn how to play NFL football. It just didn't work. And I don't understand why Hue Jackson does not take accountability for what actually happened. Because, look, we can look at records, and a lot of times when we talk about coach firings, we talk about records, right? Like how successful were they on the field. But I don't think that that's why Hue Jackson was fired. Like you mentioned, 2-5-1. I don't think 2-5-1 got him fired. I think what happened was he lost complete control over that locker room. When you're the head coach, you need to take accountability for the people that you hired, and you need to hire people that mesh well together. And that is not what he did. I don't think that he is a head coach. We saw it in Oakland. I just don't think he's a head coach. I think he's a really good coordinator, and
he should be. I will say that he should be a coordinator in this league.
Yeah.
The fact that I think right now the thing that's doing him the most damage, he says it's the Browns record. I think it's his fucking interviews. You know what I mean? He's doing interviews like he's retired and out of the league. So if he really wants to be a coordinator somewhere, he needs to stop. But he clearly ain't.
So we're both going to read Hue Jackson's book, even though, I don't know, we're both pretty upset about the things that he is out there saying. I want to read it, but it got me thinking, which book from former Browns head coaches do you want to read the most?
Right. Well, for me, honestly, it is Hue Jackson. There was so much dysfunction. There was so much chaos there. That's what I'm pumped about. But since we are going to get that book, I'm trying to think about the next guy's book of coaches. And there's a lot to go through. And I think the one who's probably most likely is Butch Davis for me. I really want to know what happened. Because you got to remember, this is an interesting dude. He left the University of Miami when they were just right there. Like, you knew they were going to – they didn't win a national championship under Butch. They won it the next year. But it was clear as day they were going to go. And he left that to come to Cleveland. Number one, why did he do that? And then number two, he really got some things going here. And then just like a poof in the night, lost it. And he lost his whole locker room in the process. He ended up stepping down. He wasn't fired. He fired us. Yeah. He quit. And I don't know. I think that would be the most interesting second read for me, is just finding out exactly what was going on there.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this one, and I have to reach further back. I feel like the recent coaches for Cleveland, there is absolutely nothing interesting that I want to read about.
You don't want to hear about the life and times of Mike Pettin?
I feel like you make a good point with Butch Davis. Like, that is interesting to read. I think it would be fun to read Butch Davis's book, specifically about his time with the Canes and then coming over to Cleveland, and then his demise in Cleveland. I definitely would read that. I feel like that would be a good read. I think I have to go back to Marty fucking Schottenheimer. And so let me explain, because there is nothing worse than a woman scorned, right?
Right.
And so I feel like, using that same vein, I think there's probably nothing worse for a man than being scorned by your employer. I don't know what it is, but we definitely put a lot of our identity into our work, right? And I'm speaking generally, right? Not every guy feels this way, but I think a lot of us have a lot of pride.
Well, I think once you get into the career stage, you have no choice. You know what I mean? Especially once you have kids and you're married, it's not like you can just up and freaking change careers like the drop of a hat. This is what you know, and this is what you do. So, yeah.
I think what impacts that even more is just traditional gender roles, right? Where guys are expected to provide for their family, and living in a time where that's not necessarily, you know,